Hey, you know what time it is? Woo! Get into it, babe! Get into it! We are back, lovelies. We are back with Storytime with Chris. Hi. How's everybody doing? It's my favorite day of the week, and it has been from the beginning up until this point throughout the whole day. Today, in the words of Princess Jasmine, it's all so magical. Because today has been a magical day. Wednesdays are always my favorite day of the week. I don't expect anything, but typically every Wednesday, ever since I can remember when I was very young, something good always happens to me and the people connected to me. So, happy Wednesday. Or in Winnie the Pooh's language, a Wednesday. Oh, I think the birds in my window just had baby birds. I hear them chirping. Hi, everybody. We're back with Lloyd Alexander's The Castle of Llyr. And Prince Rune has inadvertently saved Taran Gurgen Fluter from the giant Glue who was trying to hurt them to make his potion so he can try to fix the fact that he's super large. So we're going to find out what happens next. And of course, I don't own the music that you're listening to in the background. And of course, you don't have to watch these videos when they go live. You're more than welcome to watch them in your downtime, nap time, maxa, relax, and chillax and time, in between time. Anytime you want to hear a highly animated voice bring you wonderful stories of magic, wonder, and many, many more in between. Now, excuse me, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started, okay? How we do? Okay, we're good. Good on time. Okay. Chapter 14. The Empty Book. Hello, called Rune, hastening to the companions. I've never been so surprised in my life. I didn't mean to disobey orders, but after I'd crawled out the passage, I just couldn't leave you there to be cooked up. I simply couldn't do it. I kept thinking to myself that none of you would have gone running off. He hesitated and looked anxiously at Taran. You aren't angry, are you? You saved our lives, replied Taran. He clasped Rune's hand. I only reproach you for risking your own.
Joy and happiness, cried Gurgi. Poor Tinderhead is spared from stampings and tramplings, and kind master is safe from brewings and stewings.
But the most amazing thing was the bauble, Prince Rune went on, beaming proudly. The light didn't go out, even after I'd got hold of it. Astonishing! He stared curiously at the golden sphere, whose rays had already begun to dim, and handed it back to Taran. I don't know what happened. It suddenly started getting bright and brighter all of itself. An unbelievable feat. It's the one thing that stopped him, said Fluter. Hands on hips, the bard was looking down at the prostrate form of Glue. He'd been here so long he couldn't stand the brightness. The repulsive little grub. There! I'm calling him little again, he added. But I will say for a giant he's remarkably small-natured. He knelt and peered at Glue's face. He's had a good crack on the head, but he's still alive. Fluter put a hand to his sword. We might be wise to, make sure he doesn't wake up. Leave him, said Taran, staying Fluter's arm. I know he tried to do us ill, but I still pity the wretched creature, and I mean to ask Dalbin if he can help him. Very well, said Fluter with some reluctance. He wouldn't have done as much for us, but Flam is merciful. Quick now, let's be off. How did you climb down? Taran asked Rune. Did you find vines long enough to reach us? Rune's jaw dropped and he blinked with alarm. I'm afraid I've done it again, he murmured. I didn't climb. I jumped. I somehow never thought of getting out again. Surprising, it simply never occurred to me. I'm sorry. I've put us right back where we started. Not quite, replied Taran to the despondent prince. We can hoist you up as we did before, and this time we can lower something for the rest of us. But we must make haste. There's no need for us to stand on each other's heads, Fluter suddenly cried. I see an easier way. Look there. He pointed upward to where a large crack yawned in the cavern wall. A shaft of sunlight fell over the stones, and fresh air whistled through the crevice. We can thank Glue for that. With all his roaring and screaming, he's shaken the rocks loose. We shall be out in no time. Bless the repulsive little monster. He said he wanted to make Mona tremble, he added. At great Balin, so he did. After a fashion. The companions hurried to the wall of the cave and began picking their way through the rubble of broken stones. Prince Rune, however, halted abruptly and began fumbling with his jacket. I say, that's surprising, he cried. I know I put it there. With an anxious frown, he began searching his garments once again. Hurry, Taran called. We dare not be here when Glue comes to his senses. What are you looking for? My book, answered Rune. Where could it be? It must have fallen out while I was crawling through that hole. Or perhaps... Leave it! Taran urged. It is worthless. You've risked your life once. Don't risk it again for a book of empty pages. It was a handsome keepsake, said Rune, and would be useful. It can't be far. Go ahead. I'll join you. I shan't be a moment. He turned and trotted back toward the tunnel. Rune! Taran shouted, racing after him. The Prince of Mona disappeared into the chamber. Taran found him on hands and knees, groping over the rough floor. Splendid, cried Rune, glancing over his shoulder. A little light is what I needed. Now surely it's bound to be here. Let me see first where I was climbing up. If it dropped out then, by all rights it should be close to the wall. Taran was determined, if need be, to lay hold of the prince and drag him bodily from the cell which had so nearly become a tomb. He strode forward just as Rune gave a cry of triumph. And there it is, shouted the prince. He picked up the book and carefully examined it. I hope it isn't damaged, he remarked. All that scrambling about might have torn the pages. No, it seems... He stopped and shook his head in dismay. I say, that is a shame. It's ruined, all covered with scratches and markings. Whatever could have happened? He put the leather-bound volume into Taran's hand. Look, he said, what a pity. Every page is marred. It's really useless now. Taran was about to cast the book aside and carry out his first intention of collaring the prince, but his eyes widened at the sight of the pages. Rune, he whispered, these are more than scratchings. It is carefully written. I had thought the pages empty. So had I, said Rune. What could... Flüter called out, urging them to hasten. Taran and Prince Rune left the chamber. Gurgi had already reached the opening in the cavern ceiling and was beckoning to them. The book we found in Glue's hut, Taran began. Don't worry about Glue's property. Worry about Glue, said Flüter. He's beginning to stir. Move along or we'll still end up in one of his potions. The sun had just risen, but it was bright and warming after the dark cavern. The companions gratefully breathed the fresh springtime air. Gurgi shouted joyfully and raced on ahead. He soon returned with good tidings. The river lay not too far away. The companions set out for it with all speed. As they strode along, Taran held up the volume to Flüter. There is deep mystery in this. I cannot read the writing. The script is ancient, but how it came there... After what we've been through, replied the bard, glancing at the pages, I can understand your wanting to jest, but this is hardly the moment for it. Jest? I do not jest, Taran started as he pointed at the volume again. The pages were empty as they had always been. The writing, he stammered. It's gone. My friend, said the bard gently, your eyes have played you false. At the river we'll put cool clothes on your head, and you'll feel much better. It's quite understandable, considering the darkness. The shock of nearly being boiled. I know what I've seen, Taran protested, even in the cavern, even in the dim light of the bauble. It's true, put in Rune, who had been following their talk. I saw it myself. There's no mistake. The bauble was shining straight on the pages. The bauble! Taran cried. Wait! Can it be? He drew out the sphere while the companions halted and watched him silently. As the light blossomed in his hand, Taran held it so that its rays bathed the pages in a golden glow. The writing sprang into sight, sharp and clear. Astonishing, cried Rune. The most amazing thing I've seen in my life. Taran crouched on the turf, held the bauble close to the book, and with trembling fingers turned leaf after leaf. The curious tracing crowded every page. The bard gave a long, low whistle. "What does this mean, Fluter?" Taran asked. He raised his head and looked with concern at the bard. The bard's face had paled. "What it means, in my opinion," said Fluter, "is that we should get rid of the book instantly. Drop it in the river. I regret to say I can't read it. I can never manage to learn all those secret scripts and ancient letters, but I recognize enchantment when I see it." He shuddered and turned away. "I'd rather not even look at it, if you don't mind. Not that it frightens me. Yes, it makes me feel acutely uneasy, and you know my views on meddling." "If glue spoke the truth, it comes from a place of enchantments," Taran said. "But what can it tell us?" "I shall not destroy it," he added, returning the book to his jacket. "I can't explain. I feel as though I touched a secret. It's strange, like a moth that brushes your hand and flutters away again." "Ahem," said Fluter, casting a nervous glance at Taran. "If you insist on carrying the thing with you, would you oblige me? Nothing personal, you understand, but I would appreciate it if you'd stay a few paces away." Midday was long past when the companions reached the riverbank, but they rejoiced at their good fortune. The remnants of their raft were still there. They set to work hastily to repair it. Prince Rune, in better spirits than ever, labored unstingingly. For a time, Taran had forgotten the Prince of Mona was to be Eilonwy's betrothed. Now the sad thought returned to him as he helped Rune knot new vines around the raft. "You should be proud of yourself," Taran said quietly. "Did you seek to prove yourself a true prince? You have done so, Rune, son of Rutlam." "Why, perhaps that's so," replied Rune, as though the idea had never occurred to him. "But it's a curious thing. It doesn't seem one bit as important as it did. Astonishing, but true." The sun had begun to dip by the time the raft was ready. Taran, who had gone more and more restless as the day waned, urged the companions to press on rather than wait the night on shore, and they clambered aboard. Twilight soon fell over the valley, and the Llyr ran in swift silver ripples under the rising moon. The shore lay silent, flanked by brooding hills. In the middle of the raft, Gurgi curled up like a muddy ball of leaves. Beside him, the Prince of Mona slept and snored peacefully, a smile of contentment on his round face. Taking the first watch, Taran and Fluter guided the awkward craft as it rapidly floated seaward. They spoke little. Fluter had not entirely lost his disquiet over the strange book. Taran's thoughts were for the morrow, which he hoped would bring the companions closer to the end of their search. Once again, fear and doubt made him wonder if he had chosen wisely. Even if Eilonwy had been taken to Caer Calor, he had no cause to believe Mag, or Ochren, still held her there. So little was known for certain. The book and its meaning, even the nature of Eilonwy's bauble, were more riddles added to so many others. "Why," he murmured, "why is the writing clear only when the bauble shines on it? And why did it light for Rune, when it had never done so before? Why did it light for me, for that matter?" "As a bard," answered Fluter, "I know a great deal about these enchanted devices, and I can tell you." At the narrow end of the harp, a string tingled as it snapped in two. Yes," said Fluter. "The fact is, I know very little about them. Eilonwy, of course, has the gift of making it light when she pleases. She's half an enchantress, you know, and the bauble does belong to her. For someone else, I wonder, and I'm only guessing, mind you, I wonder if it might have to do with, how shall I put it, not even thinking about it, or about yourself. What I mean," Fluter went on, "in the cavern, when I tried to make it light, I was saying to myself, if I can do this, if I can find the way for us." "Perhaps," Taran said quietly, watching the moon-white riverbank slip past them, "perhaps you have the truth of it. At first I felt as you did. Then I remember thinking of Eilonwy, only of her, and the bauble showed its light. Prince Rune was ready to lay down his life. His thoughts were for our safety, not of all for his own. And because he offered the greatest sacrifice, the bauble glowed brightest for him. Can that be its secret? To think more for others than ourselves. I will repeat that line. Can that be its secret? To think more for others than ourselves. That would seem to be one of its secrets, at least, replied Fluter. Once you've discovered that, you've discovered a great secret indeed, with or without the bubble. The hills had flattened and given way to low fields of sedge. A scent of brine and brackish water reached Tarn's nostrils. Ahead, the river widened, flowing into a bay, and beyond that to an even greater expanse of water. To his right, on the far side of towering rocks, Tarn heard the rush of surf. Reluctantly, he decided they dare go no farther until dawn. While Fluter roused Gurgi and Prince Rune, Tarn poled the raft to shore. The companions settled themselves amid a tall clump of reeds, and Gurgi opened his wallet of food. Tarn, still restless, walked to a hillock and peered toward the sea. Keep to the shadows, said the voice of Gwydion. Othrin's eyes are sharp. And that is where we will end for today. Gwydion is... Okay, so I'm going to just say this, and probably there are going to be friends of mine who've read the series that might correct me. Gwydion is pretty much the Gandalf of this group. He is the Welsh equivalent, even though he's technically a monarch and has immense magical powers and knowledge and strength and wisdom. He shows up in the most pivotal moments. And it's super cool to me. So... I love you all very much. Thank you for joining me for Storytime, and I'll see you all next time.